that have been supporting the cause of the people of Puerto Rico prior to the storm and after the storm as well. The senator has made several speeches already in the Senate talking about the unfair treatment that the people of Puerto Rico receive, and of course the congressman has been here plenty of times making sure that basic needs are being met, making sure that they can do everything that they could from Congress perspective to help the U.S. citizens of Puerto Rico move forward. They have an agenda. I think it was an important agenda today where they visited Las Piedras. They saw a house and several folks that still didn't have energy. Of course, one of our main petitions has been that we get a sense of urgency, particularly on the Corps of Engineers side, so that we can rebuild our energy grid quickly and effectively for the people of Puerto Rico. They also went to one of our bigger corporations, Medtronic in Puerto Rico, that has one of the biggest footprints over here. And of course, both Congressman Soto and Senator Nelson were supportive of Puerto Rico's inclusion in the tax reform bill, so that we can maintain our base of support over here and prosper in these tough times. And lastly, they also went to a hospital in Bayamon where they showcased the need for different measures in the Medicaid front to be taken, measures that have been taken in the past. In Louisiana, for example, 100% of the cost sharing for the first 2 years, and elevating the cap on Medicaid for Puerto Rico in the next 5 years so that we can have sustainable levels of funding. So what do all these elements point to? It is an argument of civil rights. It is an argument of showcasing that the people of Puerto Rico have been treated as second-class citizens in this whole process, particularly recently in the efforts that Congress has pushed forward. So once again, both senators are over here. Senator and congressman are over here to make sure that the U.S. citizens of Puerto Rico get fair treatment, to make sure that their voices are heard, and to reiterate their support for equal treatment for the people of Puerto Rico. So to both of them, and on behalf of the people of Puerto Rico, thank you. Thank you for your continuous support. Thank you for your ongoing and long-lasting support to the people of Puerto Rico. This is not new. You've been there from the get-go, and wanted to let you know that the people of Puerto Rico are very supportive, very grateful for all the things that you have done, all of the actions that you have taken, and we are hopeful that once Congress starts again in January, we can get a supplemental bill that answers some of our critical needs, just treatment on the Medicaid front so that we can avoid the Medicaid cliff language, so that we can mitigate the tax reform implications, and fair allocation of resources, particularly what has to do with seed funding for housing development here in Puerto Rico, and the generation and the rebuilding of a new energy grid that includes solar, that's resilient, and that it's sustainable. So once again, we are honored to have both the senator and the congressman, great friends of the people of Puerto Rico, and the people of Puerto Rico will always support you for thinking of us and fighting for us in our greatest time of need. I'd like perhaps for the senator and the congressman to say a few words.
First of all, you should know how many times Governor Rossello has come to Washington to advocate. He wanted fairness. He wants fairness with regard to the tax bill, which we did not get. He wanted fairness with regard to Medicaid, and that is still yet to come. And what was very instructive is that both Governor Rossello as well as former Governor Garcia Padilla were each up there speaking the same message: fairness for Puerto Rico and help in the aftermath of this monster hurricane. There is a lot of fairness that still needs to come. First of all, in the tax bill, what was increased for the mainland U.S. in child tax credit was not given to Puerto Rico. That's not fair. What also was not given was the, in essence, tax break that American corporations had in Puerto Rico in the previous law, and an extending of that, which would give the incentive for the manufacturing plants such as Medtronics to continue on. And of course, you know how big that is. Manufacturing is 1/2 of the economy of the island. So there's still a long way to go, and there are a lot of fights ahead. Congressman Soto and I can speak for the Democratic leader of the Senate, Senator Schumer. We will still be trying to bring about that fairness in the tax code. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Rossello. Thank you, Senator Nelson. We arrive here at a critical time in both the near and future fate of Puerto Rico. We saw last week Congress pass a disaster relief package that will go to the Senate. We saw a tax reform bill passed that left out Puerto Rico and does more injury than good. And then we see Medicaid parity still left up in the air. It was against that backdrop that we came here today to highlight these disparities, the real effects that are happening here in Puerto Rico, so that when we return to Washington in January, we could bring these real life stories to the floor of the United States Congress and the United States Senate. This morning we visited a hospital in Bayamon that had tarps over the ceiling, that had to vacate its top floor because of water leakage and mold, and that had leaking water and plastic all over, with 40 less beds than the 100 that were there before. We spoke with some patients who were enduring the tough treatment there. We saw that many doctors have left. 14,000 were here only a few years ago, and now it's down to 9,000. And this cries to one major reform. The United States needs to make sure there is Medicaid parity here on the island. This system is being starved of money, and it's to the detriment of many hospitals, and most importantly to many patients and medical professionals here on the island. Second, we got to visit Las Piedras and spoke to families who have yet to have power for over 100 days. This against the backdrop of a disaster relief package that has already taken too long in Congress, that my dear friend Senator Nelson will get to vote on when we return. And right now it's asking for cost sharing from the island at a time when the money isn't here to do so. It's also giving way too much power to the Promesa Board in implementation of these funds. These reforms must be taken out in the Senate bill to assure that the disaster relief funds will flow down to Puerto Rico, and finally we can have the resources here to get the island back up to 100% power as soon as possible. And then lastly, we got to go to Medtronics. We know now that 50% of the manufacturing, 50% of the GDP in Puerto Rico is due to manufacturing, and that nearly half the budget comes from manufacturing. At this critical time, the GOP tax plan adds in a 13.1% tax on intellectual property and is kicking Puerto Rico while you're down. It couldn't come at a worse time, but there are opportunities in this disaster relief package that the senator will be able to vote on in January to make key changes to fix the right, to right the wrong that occurred in this tax plan and make sure to keep this robust economic sector here in Puerto Rico that pays 3 to 4 to sometimes as much as 5 times the amount of many other local wages in the area. And this will be critical to Puerto Rico's recovery. I want to thank Governor Rossello for your strong leadership, and Senator Nelson, thank you for your strong leadership in the Senate. And we in Central Florida, La Diaspora, those of Puerto Rican heritage like myself, we are a strong vote that will vote to help Puerto Rico. There are brothers and sisters that we also have in New York, in Illinois, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, even Texas, that will vote to help out our brothers and sisters on the island. So for those of you watching at home in Central Florida, we will continue to stand with our brothers and sisters on the island to make sure that we have Puerto Rico back to full prosperity. And thank you for hosting us here today, Governor.
Thank you so much. Once again, Puerto Rico is delighted to have phenomenal friends such as yourself. We are very grateful, and we're looking forward to once again working together so that we can tackle on this issue of civil rights, what I think is the modern limitation on civil rights issues in the United States. Having second-class citizenship in a jurisdiction that's mostly of Hispanic heritage, living in a territory, a colonial territory in the 21st century, it's simply not the way of the American dream, and it's simply not the way of democracy. So now we're seeing the effects of that, and hopefully we'll be able to combat that strongly and make sure that all Americans fight for just one American citizenship, and that everybody is treated equally. So I'll flip it quickly to Spanish, although I think all the ones over here. So maybe I'll skip the Spanish part.
We'll take some questions in audience.
So what probably is going to happen in the Senate? Are you going to propose some amendments? Or are you going to include tax stuff into the hurricane relief? What are your expectations?
The opportunities in the Senate are limited because the tax bill has already passed and been signed into law. As you know, it was a very close vote in the Senate. We needed 2 more votes, and it would have changed. And by the way, since the new senator had been elected in Alabama, they purposely withheld swearing him in so that it would not be all closer, and therefore that's why they rushed the bill on through. So we're going to have limited opportunities now in the emergency supplemental. We're going to have to address how much is Puerto Rico going to get. How can we speed up the redevelopment of the island? How can we get the Corps of Engineers light a fire under them to speed up? For example, Darren mentioned in Las Piedras that we went out into a neighborhood. This is day 97 after the hurricane, and they still don't have electricity. Where else on the mainland U.S., would they put up with that? Well, this is how Puerto Rico is not being treated fairly. So the supplemental appropriations is a place that we will address as many of these issues as we can. There is, I'm advised, a portion in there having to do with taxes. If we can amend some of these things, that will be a fight of major proportions, because whenever you open up a tax bill, then you are asking for trouble. And therefore it will be very difficult to do, but we will certainly try.
Gobernador, si Soto o el gobernador puede hablar en español para los canales de televisión.
Sí, claro. En el proyecto de ley por el desastre hay en parte por impuestos. Este presenta una oportunidad por enmiendas para arreglar este problema de impuestos de propiedad intelectual en este proyecto de ley. Pero mi amigo senador Nelson dice que este es posible. La calle va a estar un poquito difícil, pero nosotros vamos a tratar. Este es esencial para seguir manufacturando en Puerto Rico.
Solamente quiero reiterar el agradecimiento que tenemos al senador Nelson, al congresista Darren Soto, que han sido grandes amigos de Puerto Rico. Han estado aquí en innumerables ocasiones, siempre nos han recibido con las puertas y las manos abiertas en Washington, siempre han abogado, inclusive el senador ha dado varios mensajes en el pleno del Senado abogando por Puerto Rico. Por supuesto, el congresista Soto, un líder puertorriqueño que ha demostrado que tiene mucha capacidad ahora en el Congreso y que tiene mucho liderato, y siempre pendiente a sus hermanos y hermanas puertorriqueñas aquí. Fueron hoy, tuvieron una trayectoria a través de Puerto Rico en distintos lugares emblemáticos. En Las Piedras pudieron ver cómo parte del sistema de energía eléctrico no se había podido restaurar. Establecieron que el cuerpo de ingenieros han estado trabajando muy lentos en este proceso. Pudieron ir a Electronics también, una de las industrias que se puede impactar por la reforma contributiva aquí en Puerto Rico. Y por último, pudieron ir a un hospital en Bayamón, donde alertaron sobre las dificultades, las limitaciones que tendríamos sin paridad de fondos de Medicare. Así que están comprometidos ellos a ayudarnos en suplementar. Están comprometidos a asegurarse que podamos tener recursos en Medicaid para no caer en el abismo fiscal de Medicaid. Están comprometidos para buscar alternativas dentro de lo que se puede en la cuestión contributiva y identificar recursos puntuales de financiamiento inicial en áreas de vivienda y de la reconstrucción de un nuevo sistema de energía eléctrico en este suplemental. Así que le agradecemos todo su apoyo y reiterado por todo. Esto es un asunto de derechos civiles, es un asunto de trato desigual de los ciudadanos americanos que viven en Puerto Rico. Es una batalla que vamos a estar dando, y nos agrada tener dos grandes amigos en esta lucha hacia adelante para tener los recursos adecuados para nosotros.
Any other question? What is it?
Yeah, I wanted to ask the senator and representative, what were, given your tour of the island, what were some of the core preoccupations that you had when you visited the hospital, Las Piedras, and Bayamón?
We have liberally used social media to try to convey what we've seen. So we took pictures of the ceiling falling in the hospital. We went up on the roof where you could see all of the tarps. Now, this is a functioning hospital that finally has gotten back electricity. But people don't know about this in the States. So we go to Las Piedras and we get with the mayor and we go out into a residential neighborhood and we talk to the people there. And what's it like with no electricity? Some of them had generators, But the people in the neighborhood where we were did not have the generators. The generator was over at La Tienda. Can you imagine the people back on the mainland U.S. dealing with no electricity for 97 days? Okay, so we go to Medtronics. Now, this is a highly skilled, highly sterile workplace because of the medical devices that they are doing that are going to be implanted in human beings. It's in 4 locations in the island. It's a big business, but all of a sudden, they don't have the tax incentive that they used to have, because now they're going to pay 13.1% more in tax. So when the board of directors of Medtronics meets, why aren't they going to say, well, why don't we move this to Singapore, where we can bring our profits back into the U.S. for 0 tax, not paying that 13.1% differential. We've got to try to convey this to the members of Congress, most of whom have the attitude out of sight, out of mind. That's why we have liberally used social media today with photos as well as videos. And one other very compelling video that we made. We had lunch with Governor Pedro Rossello and Governor Garcia Padilla. And we did a video with them standing on either side of us about how, of opposite parties, they have come together for the same message. Puerto Rico needs help.
Any other questions?
Nosotros llegamos aquí en un tiempo crítico por Puerto Rico. Hay muchas preocupaciones. Primero, estoy preocupado al hospital en Bayamón con problemas de agua y hongo. Y hay menos 40% de capacidad ahí, porque no hay bastante fondos de Medicaid. Yo tengo una preocupación sobre Medtronics y otros empleadores grandes aquí, quien está afectado muy negativo en esta reforma de impuestos. Y nosotros tenemos una oportunidad para arreglar en este proyecto de ley por medio de desastres. Y mi preocupación más grande es escuchando a las historias, familias en las piedras que no tienen poder, no tienen energía por más de 100 días. Y específicamente es porque hay una reacción demasiado despacio del gobierno federal, de FEMA y del Army Corps of Engineers, y no hay bastantes recursos. Es más de 100 días después de Huracán María y todavía nosotros estamos esperando por el segundo proyecto de ley con fondos por este desastre. Y yo espero, con estas historias, nosotros podemos convencer a nuestros colegas en el Senado y en el Congreso para pasar este proyecto de ley por medio de desastre inmediatamente cuando nosotros regresamos en enero.
Any other question?
No.
We conclude the press conference. Thank you.